The galaxy was a vast and unforgiving expanse, ruled by the mighty Galactic Empire. A force of advanced technology and ruthless conquest, the Empire had stretched its iron grip across countless worlds. Entire civilizations had fallen before their unstoppable might. Planets that once thrived with life now lay in ruins, their cultures erased by the Empire's expansion. No one had been able to stand against them. That is, until Earth. To the Empire, Earth was a mystery, a small, seemingly insignificant planet at the edge of the galaxy. It had been hiding under the radar for centuries, unnoticed by the Empire's spies and scouts. But now, whispers about this mysterious world began to spread. Rumors circulated about humans, a race thought to be primitive, yet strangely resilient. Stories of their survival against overwhelming odds, their defiance in the face of impossible threats, reached the Empire's ears. And those rumors were enough to make the Empire's rulers nervous. Earth had been a quiet, peaceful world for most of its existence. But now, the Empire saw it as a prize, another conquest to add to their growing collection of worlds. The Empire's emperor, a cold and calculating ruler, had heard enough. He had no patience for mysteries, no tolerance for threats to his reign. And he had decided, Earth would be next. Captain Elena Cruz stood on the command deck of Earth's fleet, staring out into the vast expanse of space. She was a woman hardened by years of war and survival, a leader who had earned the respect of her crew through sheer strength and determination. She was the commander of Earth's forces, the last line of defense against the Empire's oncoming storm. Elena had been preparing for this day for years, ever since the first whispers of the Empire's intentions had reached her ears. She wasn't surprised when the first reports came in. Scouts. Ships of unknown origin, slipping past Earth's defenses, gathering information, no doubt, about Earth's military strength and weaknesses. Elena had known this day would come. She had seen the Empire's brutality firsthand, on other worlds, in other battles. And she knew that if the Empire came to Earth, humanity would be faced with a fight like no other. As the captain, Elena had always placed the safety of her people above all else. She had fought for humanity's survival, even when the odds seemed impossible. But this time, she wasn't sure if humanity could survive. The Empire's power was unlike anything Earth had ever faced. They had fleets of warships, weapons capable of wiping out entire cities in a single blow, and armies of AI-controlled soldiers that never tired, never faltered. How could Earth stand against such overwhelming force? But there was something else. Something Elena had never told anyone. A secret. Earth's fleet, long thought to be outdated and underpowered, had been quietly modernized in the shadows. Earth's warships were faster, more advanced, and more powerful than anyone realized. Elena had made sure of it. She had prepared for the day the Empire would come, and now, that day was here. The Empire's first scout ship had entered the outskirts of Earth's solar system. It was a massive vessel, cloaked in stealth technology, designed to avoid detection. But Elena's eyes never left the screens in front of her. She had been waiting for this moment, anticipating the Empire's every move. She knew this was just the beginning. More ships would come. And when they did, the real battle would begin. A chilling message suddenly appeared on the command screen. The words sent a shiver down Elena's spine, Earth will be ours. Surrender or face annihilation. The message came from the Emperor himself, a voice that seemed to echo through the stars. It was a declaration of war, a statement that left no room for negotiation. The Empire had decided that Earth was theirs to conquer. And they would not stop until it was. Elena felt the weight of the message settle in her chest. This was it. The moment she had been preparing for had finally arrived. The Empire, with all its power and cruelty, was coming for Earth. And they would stop at nothing to claim it. But Elena was not afraid. She had seen the worst the universe had to offer. She had fought battles against impossible odds, and she had never backed down. She knew the Empire's tactics. They would send fleets, destroy cities, and crush any resistance. But they would never break humanity's spirit. She wouldn't let them. She turned to her crew, her voice steady but filled with determination. "This is our final warning to the Empire," she said, her words clear and firm. "We will not surrender. We will fight for Earth, no matter the cost. Prepare for battle." The crew, loyal to the core, responded with resolute silence. They knew the stakes. The fate of their world hung in the balance. As the command ship's engines roared to life, Elena felt a surge of adrenaline. It was time to send a message of their own. The humans had been underestimated. The Empire had thought them weak, primitive, and unworthy of attention. But Elena knew better. Earth had its secrets. Its strength had always been hidden, and now, the galaxy would learn just how powerful humanity could be when pushed to the brink. As the fleet powered up and the first ships prepared to launch, Elena took one last look at Earth, the home she had sworn to protect. She would not let it fall. The fight was just beginning, and this time, the Empire would not be the victor. The warning had been sent. Now, Earth would stand and fight. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Galactic Empire had made one grave mistake. They believed humanity was nothing more than a primitive species, barely out of its infancy in the vast universe. They assumed Earth's technology was outdated, and they thought that the humans, with their simple weapons and scattered military resources, would pose no real threat. But they couldn't have been more wrong. As soon as the Empire's scouts had arrived, Captain Elena Cruz knew the time had come to reveal Earth's hidden strength. For years, she and her team had been preparing for this very moment. Beneath the surface of Earth, in secret military facilities buried deep within mountains and underground bunkers, advanced technology had been quietly developed, advanced AI systems, cloaking technology, and warships that had been long believed to be obsolete, now restored and upgraded with the latest tech. Elena and her team had worked tirelessly, ensuring that no one outside their trusted circle knew about these hidden resources. They knew that revealing humanity's true power too soon would put them at risk of detection. So, while the Empire's scouts made their observations, Earth's defense systems were slowly coming to life, unseen by the enemy. Deep within the command center, Elena watched as her team activated the first of these defense systems. A soft hum filled the room as the AI systems came online, their glowing interfaces flashing across the monitors. These AI weren't like the ones the Empire used. They were designed to think like humans, innovative, creative, and unpredictable. The AI quickly began processing vast amounts of data, analyzing the Empire's movements, and formulating strategies faster than any human could. But it wasn't just the AI that Elena relied on. Earth's fleet of warships, considered old and ineffective by the rest of the galaxy, now stood ready for battle. These ships had been rebuilt with the best technology Earth could muster, incorporating advanced cloaking devices that could render them invisible to the Empire's radar. They had cutting-edge weaponry capable of taking on the most advanced alien warships. The humans had always been underestimated, but now, they had the tools to fight back. The Empire was about to learn a hard lesson: never underestimate the tenacity and ingenuity of humanity. As the fleet prepared for the coming assault, Elena's team worked in the shadows, making sure their movements were kept hidden from the Empire. Every system, every weapon, every ship was calibrated and readied in perfect secrecy. They knew the Empire's spies were everywhere, watching their every move, waiting for them to make a mistake. One wrong move, one slip-up, and their advantage would be lost. But Elena was calm. She had been through too much to let fear cloud her judgment. Earth had always been on the edge of extinction. This time, they would fight back. During those tense hours, as the final checks were made and Earth's defenses were put into place, Elena allowed herself a moment to reflect on the past. She thought back to the days when humanity was first reaching out into space, when Earth's fragile ships touched the stars for the first time. The universe had been a dangerous and mysterious place back then, and many had thought that humanity's efforts would be short-lived. But with each successful mission, with each new discovery, humanity's confidence grew. She remembered the early space programs, how the first humans had built rudimentary spacecraft, reaching the moon and then beyond. They had been laughed at by the other galactic civilizations, who saw them as little more than children playing at being astronauts. But as Earth continued to push its boundaries, it became clear that humans were anything but weak. Then came the rise of artificial intelligence, a game-changer for Earth. In the beginning, humanity's AI was basic, rudimentary at best. But through years of trial and error, Earth's engineers had perfected a form of AI that could adapt, learn, and evolve. Unlike the rigid, programmed AI of the Empire, these machines were more like partners, collaborators, capable of making decisions based on evolving situations. They were unpredictable in a way that made them dangerous, and that's exactly what Elena needed now. With each step forward, humanity's power grew. Military technology, once considered outdated, was continually improved. Weapons once thought to be incapable of facing the Empire's advanced machines were now a match for anything the enemy could throw at them. Earth's fleet, once thought to be a relic of the past, now stood ready to make its mark on the galaxy. Flashbacks to the rise of AI and humanity's journey into space reminded Elena of how far they had come. The early days of space travel, the battles fought to defend Earth's sovereignty, and the long nights spent working on technology that no one else in the galaxy thought was possible, these were the moments that shaped Earth's destiny. And now, all that progress was about to pay off. Elena's thoughts were interrupted by a soft beep. The status reports were in. The AI systems had finished their analysis of the Empire's movements. The scouts were making their way closer to Earth. Their time was running out. "Prepare the fleet," Elena ordered. Her voice was steady, her mind clear. The preparations had been long, but now it was time to act. The fleet was ready, the AI was in place, and the cloaking devices were functioning perfectly. The Empire would have no idea what hit them. As the ships powered up and moved into position, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She was about to lead humanity into one of the most important battles in history. They would show the Empire that they were not weak, that they were not to be underestimated. The galaxy had thought of humans as nothing more than an insignificant species. But now, the time had come for humanity to prove its worth. The Empire would soon learn the true meaning of defiance. The final countdown had begun, the silence of space was shattered as the Empire's flagship descended into Earth's orbit. It was a sight that could strike fear into the heart of any lesser race, an enormous warship, its dark, jagged hull reflecting the cold light of distant stars. The ship dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. With its countless weapons, advanced technology, and an entire fleet of smaller ships at its command, the Empire's flagship looked unstoppable. As it arrived in Earth's orbit, the message was clear: Earth had no chance. The humans would be crushed under the might of the Galactic Empire. On the command deck of Earth's fleet, Captain Elena Cruz watched the display in silence. The flagship of the Empire had arrived, and with it came the first real test of humanity's strength. She had prepared for this moment, but now that it was here, the reality of the situation settled in. Earth's warships, once thought obsolete, were now the only line of defense between the Empire's devastating might and the people of Earth. For a moment, Elena's crew was quiet, knowing the odds they faced. The Empire had every advantage: they had numbers, power, and technology. But the humans had something the Empire could never understand: determination. Elena knew that this battle would determine everything. If humanity lost here, Earth would fall, and the Empire's conquest would be unstoppable. But if they won, the Empire would learn that humanity was not so easily defeated. The Empire's fleet slowly spread out, ready to launch an attack. The flagship began to charge its weapons, preparing for a devastating bombardment. It was an overwhelming sight, and for a brief moment, Elena thought about how small her fleet seemed in comparison. But that was just it, small didn't mean weak. In fact, it was humanity's greatest strength. With a deep breath, Elena turned to her officers. "Activate the cloaking devices," she ordered. The command was given, and immediately, Earth's warships began to fade from view, becoming invisible to the Empire's sensors. These ships had long been thought to be relics, outdated vessels with little hope of holding up against the Empire's mighty arsenal. But the truth was far different. Earth's engineers had poured years of effort into making sure that these ships had one advantage no one could predict: speed and agility. As the cloaking technology enveloped Earth's fleet, the Empire's sensors were left searching for what wasn't there. At first, it seemed like the humans were just sitting ducks, waiting to be obliterated. The Empire's flagship fired its weapons, unleashing a massive burst of energy that lit up space with the force of 1,000 suns. The Empire's plan seemed foolproof. But then, nothing. The Empire's fleet began scanning every inch of space, trying to locate the cloaked warships. They were baffled. The humans were gone. Where had they gone? They had no idea that Earth's ships were now behind them, ready to strike. Suddenly, without warning, a fleet of Earth's warships materialized from the shadows of space. The cloaking devices disengaged, revealing the sleek, powerful ships of Earth's fleet. They were faster, more agile, and far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. The humans had been underestimated, but now the Empire would feel their fury. The flagship of the Empire, unprepared for this sudden turn of events, fired its weapons again, but it was too slow. The humans had already moved. Earth's warships danced around the Empire's fire, their engines roaring as they outmaneuvered the larger, slower ships. The human ships darted through space, firing precision shots that struck the Empire's fleet in weak points, places the Empire's warships hadn't anticipated. The battle was intense. Energy beams flashed through space, lighting up the darkness. Explosions rippled across the void as the humans' warships tore into the Empire's fleet. Each shot was calculated, each movement precise. The Empire's ships, which had once seemed invincible, now struggled to keep up with the speed and agility of the human ships. The humans had an advantage that the Empire could never have predicted: they had been fighting for their survival for centuries, and that made them adaptable. They could think on their feet, adjust their tactics in real time, and improvise in ways the Empire's rigid, strategic systems could not. Amid the chaos, Elena stood tall on the command deck, her eyes focused and sharp. She watched as her fleet tore into the Empire's lines, pushing them back, forcing them to retreat. The humans were not going down without a fight. Elena's heart raced, not from fear, but from the rush of battle. This was what they had trained for, what they had prepared for. The time to show the Empire who they were had finally come. A message from the flagship of the Empire suddenly appeared on the command screen, its tone cold and threatening. The Empire's Emperor himself spoke, his voice carrying across the vastness of space: "This is your last chance, humans. Surrender now, or we will obliterate you." Elena's jaw clenched. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The Empire was powerful, but they had no idea what they were up against. The humans would not back down. She looked at her crew, her eyes filled with determination. She knew what she had to do. "This is Earth's final warning," Elena said, her voice calm but fierce, cutting through the tension on the bridge. "Stay away, or we will make you regret it." Her words rang out like a challenge to the Empire. This wasn't just a warning, it was a promise. The humans would not bow to the Empire. If the Empire wanted Earth, they would have to fight for it. And this time, the humans were ready. The battle raged on, but Elena and her fleet knew one thing: the first skirmish was over, and Earth had struck the first blow. The Empire would never forget this day. The Empire had underestimated humanity. Their first defeat had only fueled their anger and desire for control. Furious at the humiliation, the Empire launched a brutal retaliation, bringing every weapon they had to bear against Earth. They sent wave after wave of attack ships, some massive and heavily armed, others smaller but faster and more nimble. Their assault was relentless, meant to crush the resistance and show the galaxy that the Empire could never be challenged. But the humans were not so easily defeated. As the Empire's warships descended toward Earth's orbit, Captain Elena Cruz knew that this was only the beginning. She had anticipated this escalation and had already prepared her fleet for the worst. The skies above Earth erupted in flashes of light as massive energy blasts exchanged between the two fleets. The Empire's forces fired devastating weapons, but the humans were ready. Elena's fleet darted through space, cloaked and invisible, just as they had in the first skirmish. Earth's warships, with their advanced cloaking devices, reappeared at unexpected moments, striking from the shadows. They were faster and more agile, and their weapons more precise. The Empire's massive ships could not match the speed of Earth's stealth attacks. The humans were everywhere, hitting the Empire's ships before they even had a chance to retaliate. The battle raged for hours, with constant explosions lighting up the dark void of space. The humans had become masters of guerrilla warfare, using their small, nimble warships to conduct precise orbital bombardments on the Empire's strongholds. Each attack was swift and devastating, leaving the Empire's forces reeling, struggling to catch up. It was clear that Earth had not only held its ground but had turned the tables, using the Empire's overconfidence against them. But the humans were not just fighting against the Empire's technology, they were fighting against the overwhelming number of soldiers and fleet commanders who had been trained for decades in the ways of war. Many of these soldiers were not evil, they were simply following orders, raised in a system that rewarded loyalty to the Empire above all else. As Elena gave orders from the command deck, she couldn't help but feel the weight of this truth. These soldiers, just like her, were trained to fight. They had families, dreams, and lives that had been shaped by the Empire's propaganda. Elena struggled with this moral dilemma. She had no choice but to keep fighting, to protect Earth, but each time a battle raged, the faces of the soldiers she fought against lingered in her mind. Many of them were just doing their jobs, just like her. The thought haunted her, especially when she saw the faces of those who were killed in battle, those who hadn't chosen to be here, but were simply following orders. Every death, even those of the Empire's soldiers, weighed heavily on her heart. But Elena knew she had to stay focused. If Earth fell, it would not only be the end of humanity but the beginning of an even darker age. The Empire would conquer everything, suppressing anyone who dared to resist. Elena's heart ached, but the survival of Earth was at stake. She couldn't afford to let doubt slow her down, not when the future of her world hung in the balance. The battles continued to escalate. Earth's warships clashed with the Empire's forces in a series of intense space battles, each one fiercer than the last. But as the humans fought back with everything they had, tragedy struck. During one of the most brutal engagements, Elena's closest ally, Commander Kyle Jacobs, was killed in a surprise attack. A blast from an Empire warship hit his ship, and in an instant, it was gone, obliterated in the blink of an eye. Elena felt the loss like a gut punch. Kyle had been with her from the beginning, a trusted friend and leader. He had fought alongside her in every mission, sharing in both victories and defeats. Losing him was not just a blow to the fleet, but to Elena's heart. Kyle's death hit her harder than she could have imagined. She had always known that war meant sacrifice, but she had never expected it to feel so personal. He was more than a commander, he was a friend, a brother in arms. His loss sparked a fire within Elena, a fire that would push her to new limits. She had to keep fighting, not just for Earth, but for him. His sacrifice couldn't be in vain. As the battle continued to rage, Elena became more determined than ever. She wasn't just fighting to protect Earth now, she was fighting for the memory of her fallen comrade. Every enemy ship that fell, every Empire soldier who was defeated, felt like a small piece of revenge for Kyle. But it wasn't just revenge. It was the determination to make sure that no one else would suffer the same fate. The Empire needed to know that humanity was not a species to be crushed so easily. "Prepare for the next wave," Elena ordered, her voice steady, even as the grief and anger boiled inside her. The humans would keep fighting. They would honor Kyle's memory by not backing down, by showing the Empire that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. Elena stared out at the battle unfolding before her, a vision of devastation and courage. Her fleet, though battered, refused to surrender. They were fighting not only for survival but for the future of Earth and the countless lives that depended on them. As the Empire retaliated with more overwhelming force, Elena's resolve hardened. The more the Empire tried to crush them, the more relentless humanity became. The war was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. With every battle, Earth was proving that they were not just a primitive species. They were survivors, and they would fight for their world, no matter the cost. This was the moment that would define the fate of humanity, a moment that would be written in the stars. The Empire may have thought they had already won, but they were wrong. The humans had only just begun to show their true strength. The Empire had pushed Earth's forces to the brink. Their retaliation had been brutal, and now, they were sending in their most elite forces. These were not just ordinary soldiers, they were the Empire's best, the kind of troops that could level entire planets without breaking a sweat. But what the Empire didn't realize was that the humans had nothing left to lose. This was it, the final push. If humanity was going to survive, they had to strike at the heart of the Empire. Captain Elena Cruz stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. The Empire's forces were overwhelming, and Earth's fleet had been battered in battle. But Elena wasn't afraid. She had faced death before, but this was different. This time, Earth's survival depended on one last mission, a mission so dangerous, it could end in disaster, but it was the only chance they had. "Elena," said her second-in-command, Commander Liu, his voice grim. "This is it. There's no turning back." "I know," Elena replied, her voice steady. "We do what we must." The plan was simple: infiltrate the Empire's flagship and disable its core systems. If they could cripple the flagship, the entire fleet would fall apart. Without their leader, the Empire would be forced to retreat, and Earth would send a clear message: never come back. It was a risky mission, one that would require every bit of skill, bravery, and luck they could muster. But there was no time for hesitation. Elena and her team had already lost too much. The loss of Commander Kyle Jacobs had left a hole in her heart, but she knew that Kyle would have wanted them to finish this fight. The humans would not let his death be in vain. As the preparations began, the tension on Earth's fleet was palpable. Soldiers worked around the clock to get their ships ready, knowing that the battle ahead would be their last. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running low on supplies, but their determination was stronger than ever. Elena's crew knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about a battle, it was about the future of humanity. Elena walked through the crowded command deck, her mind focused. She could feel the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders. The fate of Earth rested in her hands. She turned to her team, her most trusted officers and soldiers. They were all veterans, having fought in every battle, but even they knew the risks this mission posed. "This is our chance," Elena said, her voice unwavering. "We've been fighting for Earth, for our families, for our home. We cannot let the Empire take it from us. This is the final stand." Her words were met with silence, but it wasn't a silence of fear, it was a silence of resolve. Her team was ready. They didn't need to say anything, they knew what had to be done. Each of them was prepared to risk everything. The final plan was set into motion. Elena's team would infiltrate the Empire's flagship, hidden among a fleet of decoy ships. They would land on the ship's outer hull, bypass the Empire's advanced security systems, and make their way to the core, where they would plant the explosives that would disable the ship's systems. It was a plan that required stealth, precision, and speed. Any mistake would mean certain death. As Elena and her team prepared to board their shuttle, she took one last look at Earth's fleet. They were small compared to the Empire's forces, but they were ready. Their ships were equipped with the latest technology, and Earth's soldiers had learned to fight in ways the Empire couldn't predict. Still, this mission was not without risks. If they failed, the Empire would crush Earth's resistance in an instant. But Elena was determined. She would not let that happen. As their shuttle launched into space, the tension only grew. The team's hearts raced, and every moment felt like an eternity. They knew that failure wasn't an option, not when Earth was counting on them. When they finally reached the Empire's flagship, they cloaked their shuttle, carefully approaching the massive ship. The Empire's flagship towered above them, its dark metallic hull bristling with weapons. It was a fortress in space, a symbol of the Empire's dominance. But the humans had learned to fight back against the impossible. Elena gave the signal, and the shuttle cut through the defenses. Just as they breached the flagship's hull, an unexpected surprise hit them like a freight train. They had anticipated every kind of defense, the Empire's forces, the security systems, even the unpredictable conditions of space. But they had not prepared for this. A new weapon. A terrifying weapon. From the depths of the flagship emerged an AI-controlled battle mech, a towering, heavily armored machine with weapons capable of vaporizing entire ships. It was fast, too. The mech's metal limbs moved with unnatural precision, and its sensors locked onto Elena's shuttle immediately. The mech's glowing red eyes scanned them, and the shuttle's cloaking system flickered under its scrutiny. It was clear now that the Empire was taking no chances. They had prepared for the humans' desperate final push with a weapon so advanced, it was nearly invincible. "Get ready!" Elena shouted to her team. The mech advanced, its heavy footfalls shaking the ship. The team knew they had no choice but to engage. It was either this or die trying to accomplish their mission. The shuttle's weapons fired, trying to buy them time as they deployed to the ship's outer hull. The mech reacted instantly, its massive fist smashing through the shuttle's defenses. Elena's team barely had time to retreat into the shadows before the mech launched another attack. It moved with terrifying speed, hunting them down. Elena's pulse quickened. This was their most dangerous moment yet. The Empire had anticipated their every move, and now, they were facing a weapon designed to wipe them out. But Elena refused to back down. With a deep breath, she grabbed her weapon and signaled for the team to move forward. The mission was clear: disable the core, or die trying. The final stand for Earth had begun, and Elena knew one thing: they had to fight like they had never fought before. The battle was reaching its breaking point. Elena and her team were trapped aboard the Empire's flagship, with only a thin chance of survival. The AI-controlled battle mech had proven to be a deadly adversary, and just when they thought all hope was lost, an unexpected ally appeared. It came in the form of a defector, a former officer of the Galactic Empire. Lieutenant Kale, a skilled strategist and combat expert, had once served in the Empire's elite forces. But after years of witnessing the brutality and oppression of his own side, Kale had turned against the Empire. He knew the Empire's tactics inside out and had a deep understanding of its weaknesses. Elena had never trusted the Empire, but in this desperate situation, Kale's knowledge was exactly what they needed. He made contact with her during a brief window of opportunity when the Empire's forces were distracted by the chaos on the flagship. "Captain Cruz, I know their systems," Kale's voice crackled over the comms. "I can help you disable the AI weapon. But you have to trust me." Elena's first instinct was to be wary. After all, Kale had once been part of the very force they were fighting. But desperation left little room for hesitation. "If you're telling the truth," Elena replied, "then let's make sure the Empire regrets ever coming to Earth." Kale's knowledge of the Empire's security systems was invaluable. With his help, Elena's team managed to breach the AI-controlled mech's core systems. It wasn't easy, but with Kale's inside knowledge, they discovered a critical flaw in the mech's design: an opening that allowed them to disable the AI's control and turn the weapon against its creators. The battle mech, now under human control, turned on the Empire's remaining forces. It wreaked havoc on the flagship, cutting through Imperial soldiers like they were nothing. The mech's massive limbs crushed ships and decimated enemy defenses. With the flagship's core systems disabled, the Empire's fleet descended into chaos. The Empire's leaders couldn't believe what was happening. A few hours earlier, they had been confident in their victory, and now they were scrambling to keep their ships from falling apart. But even as victory seemed within reach, the true test was still ahead. Elena had one final mission. She had to face the Empire's ruthless general, the one who had orchestrated the attack on Earth in the first place. The general had underestimated humanity, thinking they were weak and primitive. But Elena knew this would be the ultimate showdown, and the general had to pay for his arrogance. Elena made her way through the smoke-filled corridors of the flagship, her pulse racing as she approached the command center. She had fought countless battles, but this one felt different. This wasn't just about strategy or tactics, it was personal. The general had caused the death of her closest ally, Commander Kyle Jacobs. She could still hear his voice, urging her to never back down, to fight with everything she had. Now, she was fighting for him. Elena made her way through the smoke-filled corridors of the flagship, her pulse racing as she approached the command center. She had fought countless battles, but this one felt different. This wasn't just about strategy or tactics, it was personal. The general had caused the death of her closest ally, Commander Kyle Jacobs. She could still hear his voice, urging her to never back down, to fight with everything she had. Now, she was fighting for him. The general was waiting for her. He stood in front of a large, holographic display, overseeing the final remnants of the Empire's forces. He didn't flinch when he saw Elena enter. His arrogance was clear in his cold, calculating eyes. "You think you can defeat me, Captain Cruz?" the general sneered. "You're nothing but insects, standing in the way of the future. You've already lost." But Elena didn't flinch. She had faced loss before, too much loss, but this time, it was different. The general didn't know what humans were capable of when pushed to the edge. He didn't understand the strength that came from fighting for something greater than oneself. With a battle cry, Elena charged forward, her fist connecting with the general's face. The fight erupted in a blur of movement. The general was skilled, he had years of experience, countless battles under his belt. But Elena was relentless. She fought with the fury of a woman who had lost everything, who had nothing left to lose. Every punch, every strike was fueled by the memory of the lives lost, by the soldiers who had died fighting for their home. The general countered with brutal precision, but Elena refused to back down. She dodged his blows and delivered her own with punishing force. The fight was personal, but it was also symbolic, a fight between two opposing forces, two ideologies. Elena was fighting for the future of Earth, for the people she loved, for the memory of her fallen comrades. The general was fighting for power, for control over the galaxy, and his arrogance blinded him to humanity's true strength. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Elena found an opening. She seized the moment, delivering a devastating blow that sent the general sprawling to the ground. The general's breath came in ragged gasps as he tried to rise, but Elena was already standing over him, her weapon poised for the final strike. "You underestimated us," Elena said, her voice cold but resolute. "We fight because we have something worth protecting." With one swift motion, she ended the fight. The general lay defeated at her feet, his reign of terror over. Outside the flagship, the rest of Earth's fleet launched their final assault. With the flagship crippled and the general dead, the Empire's forces began to crumble. The human fleet had won the battle. Earth had survived. The victory was unexpected, but it was hard-earned. Elena stood in the silence of the command center, her heart pounding as the weight of the moment settled over her. She had lost friends, she had faced impossible odds, and she had emerged victorious. The fight wasn't over yet, there were still battles to be fought, but this was a turning point. Humanity had sent its message to the galaxy: never come back. The Empire had underestimated the strength of humanity, and now they would learn that Earth's will to survive could never be broken. With the flagship crippled and the general defeated, the balance of power had shifted. The Empire's once immense fleet was now in disarray. They had underestimated Earth, underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, to survive. Now, the Empire's forces were scrambling to maintain control, but it was too late. Earth had proven that they were no longer a helpless, unworthy target for conquest. The final blow was struck as Elena's team, along with the remaining Earth fleet, disabled the last of the Empire's main warships. A ripple of fear spread across the Imperial command as they realized the extent of the damage. Their most powerful weapons, their finest ships, and their most seasoned commanders had failed to crush humanity. It was then that Elena issued the final, thunderous message, one that would reverberate throughout the galaxy. Standing aboard Earth's flagship, looking out at the stars, she spoke into the communication system, her voice strong and resolute. "This is Earth speaking," Elena's voice rang out. "We have defeated you. And we have sent you a message. Stay away from Earth. This is your final chance. Leave us alone, or we will make you regret it." The words echoed across the galaxy, reaching the ears of every Empire officer, every soldier, and every leader. The Galactic Empire, once so powerful, was now humiliated. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, but instead, they had been met with defiance, strength, and an unrelenting will to protect their home. The Empire's retreat was swift, though not without resistance. Some of their forces tried to retaliate, but Earth's fleet, now fully mobilized and strengthened by the success of the battle, pushed back with relentless precision. The remaining Imperial warships quickly turned tail, fleeing the scene in defeat. Earth had emerged victorious, and for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire had been forced to acknowledge that they could not just sweep across the stars as they once had. As the Empire's ships disappeared into the void, Elena watched from the command bridge, her heart still racing. The battle was over, but the victory felt surreal. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel the weight of their success. Earth had stood its ground. It had repelled one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Humanity had fought not just for survival, but for the future. But even in this moment of triumph, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. Earth had sent a message loud and clear, but the war, she knew, was far from over. The Empire may have retreated for now, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. The galaxy had witnessed the strength of humanity, and that wasn't something the Empire could ignore forever. They had been humiliated. Their pride had been shattered. It was only a matter of time before they regrouped and returned. Elena didn't know when it would happen, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the Empire would come back, more determined than ever to reclaim their lost honor. As the Earth fleet remained on alert, poised for whatever might come next, Elena stood with her crew, looking out over the Earth below. The planet, once so vulnerable, now gleamed with hope. The battle had been hard fought, and the losses had been heavy, but humanity had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. They had earned their place in the stars. "Do you think they'll come back?" one of Elena's crew members asked, breaking the silence. Elena thought for a moment before responding, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "They will. But next time, they'll know what they're up against." The closing scene was a quiet one. The stars twinkled in the distance, silent witnesses to the battle that had just been won. Earth was safe for now, but Elena knew that the peace would be temporary. The camera panned over Earth's fleet, still stationed and ready for whatever might come next. The ships were battered, some damaged beyond repair, but their resolve was unbroken. Humanity had proven its strength, and no one in the galaxy would forget the fight they had put up. Elena stood tall among her people, her face a mixture of exhaustion and pride. "We're ready," she said softly, almost to herself. The final shot zoomed out, showing Earth surrounded by the fleet, their ships like a protective shield around the planet. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The Galactic Empire, though retreating, would always remember the humans they had underestimated. And the galaxy would never forget the message Earth had sent: don't mess with humanity. But as the stars twinkled above and the Earth stood firm, one thing was clear: the humans were ready for whatever the future held.